discover the incredible moment he revealed his hidden strength after his wife's shocking text. Jake Thompson stood in the little garage just off Main Street, wrench in hand, when the text buzzed across his phone like a bolt of lightning. "I'm leaving you and taking the kids." 3 short lines that shattered the universe he had built. He felt his chest tighten, the way engines groaned under pressure before they gave way. The mechanics of his marriage had broken down, and all he could do was hold on, desperately trying to keep the family he loved intact. Days passed like a slow, suffocating fog. Each sunrise brought a reminder of love once vibrant, now dimmed by bills piled high and uncertainty hanging over him like storm clouds. Visions of Emily and their 2 children played on repeat in his mind, but each cheerful laugh felt like a distant echo, mocked by the stark reality of his new loneliness. Every argument had sprouted from fear and despair, but in the pit of his stomach, he knew he could change. He just didn't know how. As he wandered through town, familiar streets felt foreign. The laughter he'd once shared with neighbors turned to whispers. Their eyes reflected pity, but he needed more than that. He needed a lifeline. Slowly, a spark ignited within him. Maybe help was out there. He started taking on extra work at the nearby auto shop. Each bolt he tightened, reassembling his soul piece by piece. Perhaps, just maybe, he still had the strength to fight for his family. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Weeks passed, and Jake found his voice during a town hall meeting. He stood up, heart racing, eyes scanning the crowd. He took a deep breath and spoke from the heart, voicing the silent suffering of a community battered by economic struggles. Each word resonated like the rev of an engine, raw, unfiltered. He felt the power of unity as fellow citizens nodded along, faces aflame with shared understanding. In that moment, he transformed. No longer just a mechanic trying to keep his family afloat, he became a voice for the voiceless. The applause was deafening, but as applause echoed in his ears, Jake's heart raced with uncertainty. He searched the crowd, yearning for a familiar face. Would Emily recognize the change within him? A flicker of hope ignited when he spotted her amid the clapping throng. She stood there, eyes glistening, raw emotions etched across her face. Could this moment be the bridge to mend the rift? As he held her gaze, a surge of energy coursed through him. He thought of all they'd built and the love they could still reclaim. But doubt lingered. Would she let go of the past and see the man he was becoming? In the delicate balance, Jake felt the weight of their future hang in the air, waiting for a choice between love and fear. Jake took a cautious step towards Emily, feeling the tension between them ripple like a charged current. The applause around him faded, a distant hum. All that mattered was her soft, hopeful gaze that both comforted and terrified him. The churning emotions in his chest felt heavy, yet invigorating. "Hey," he murmured, his voice barely above the sound of his heartbeat drumming in his ears. She smiled faintly, but her eyes held questions, uncertainty that mirrored his own. "You really meant what you said up there, didn't you?" "Yeah, I did." The truth hung between them, honest and raw. Jake ran a hand through his hair, trying to keep his nerves at bay. "I want to fight for something that matters. For us." But the shadows of their past loomed large. She swallowed hard, the light in her expression dimming just a little. "But can we? After everything that has happened?" The weight of her words pressed down on him. He could almost sense the cracks that had formed in their love, each one a sharp reminder of moments lost. "I know it won't be easy," he said. "But I've changed, Emily. I want to be better. For you and the kids." The corners of her mouth trembled, as if she wanted to smile, wanted to believe him, yet fear held her back. "It's been so hard, Jake. I've felt so alone." That confession hit him like a punch to the gut. He looked around at the gathered townsfolk, who were still buzzing with enthusiasm from his speech. Here he was, fighting for a community, yet stumbling in the most important battle of his life. I know I let you down. I was so focused on everything else that I stopped seeing you. I never meant to push you away. Tears glistened in her eyes, reflecting a flicker of hope. He stepped closer, feeling the gravity of the moment. What if we tried again? A fresh start? Together? Before she could respond, a voice broke through the crowd. Jake, you were fantastic tonight. It was Brian, an old friend from high school, pulling him into a bear hug. For a moment, Jake felt the warmth of camaraderie, but he quickly turned to Emily, willing her to see his determination. What if this is our chance? He tried again, desperately wanting to loop back to their moment. But the distraction had pulled her from the cusp of decision. She looked away, biting her lip, and he could almost see her mind racing through the possibilities and the pain. The weight pressed down harder. Emily, he murmured, taking her hand. It was a small gesture, but it meant everything. I'm not perfect, and I know I messed up. But I need to know if you're willing to try. Because I'm ready to put in the work. Their eyes locked, and he could see her fighting against her fears, her heart and mind warring in silence. The seconds stretched painfully until another friend called out, eager to congratulate him, pulling her attention again. Can you give me time? She finally said, her voice trembling. I need to think. Of course, he replied, though it tore at him. He knew she needed space, but he felt time slipping through his fingers. As she stepped back, the crowd began to disperse, the moment fading into the night. From the edge of the throng, Jake could only watch her walk away, heart heavy with uncertainty. What if this was his last chance? He felt lost again, once more questioning everything, but deep within, something ignited. Could he be brave enough to reach out, to trust in their bonds being mended? In that faded glow, a thought loomed larger than his fears. He had to find a way to show her. It wasn't just about words anymore. It was about action. The next morning, he awoke with a renewed sense of purpose. He had to prove he could change. But what would be the first step on this uncertain path? As he prepared to leave for the shop, a flash of determination lit his face. He needed to plan something big, and he had to do it fast. Would the surprise be enough to bridge the distance between them? Jake spent the next few hours pacing the shop, his mind racing with possibilities. Every ding of the doorbell, every familiar face that walked in, felt like another reminder of the urgency he had to embrace. What could he do that would convey how serious he was about winning Emily back? He set to sorting through a box of old photographs, memories captured in time. There she was, smiling brightly on a sunny day, their kids laughing behind her. He longed to bring back that happiness, to ignite that warmth again. Inspiration struck him like lightning, a family picnic. It was simple, yet there was magic and simplicity connecting over shared moments, laughter, and good food. He could create the perfect day to help rekindle what they had lost. He grabbed his phone and started to make a list: sandwiches, her favorite lemonade, and a blanket that they used to use all the time. The thought set his heart racing. He wanted to make this special, a chance to show her everything she meant to him. Would it work? Would his plan be enough? As the day wore on, Jake decorated the shop with pictures of their family, little reminders of moments that mattered. The afternoons in the park, the kids' birthday parties, snapshots of love poured into scrapbooks scattered like breadcrumbs for Emily to follow back to him. Each picture was a reminder of their foundation, the love they had built. By late afternoon, adrenaline pumped through him as he dialed Emily's number. He hesitated. It felt as if he was standing at the edge of a cliff. What if she didn't pick up? What if she didn't want to see him? His heart thudded louder than the ringing. Hello? Her voice came through like a beam of light. Hey, Emily. It's me, he said, feeling the weight of each word. Jake, there was a pause. Is everything okay? Yeah, everything's good. I was wondering if you'd be open to having a picnic tomorrow at the lake? Just us and the kids. I want to show you I'm serious about Jake. I need time to think. This isn't just something that can be fixed overnight, she interrupted softly. His heart sank, but he pressed on. I know, and I don't want to rush you into anything. All I'm asking is that we spend some time together. No pressure, just having a good time like we used to. I miss that. I miss you. A long silence stretched. He could almost hear her thoughts racing. Okay, she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. I'll think about it. Okay, he repeated, though the weight hung heavily even in that word, unsure if she meant it or if she needed a lifeline. He hung up, a mix of hope and despair swirling in his chest. As night fell, he meticulously planned every detail for tomorrow, waiting through gratitude for the small moment when she agreed to consider it. He wanted to make this count, to remind her that the love they shared wasn't gone, it just needed to be rekindled. Later that night, as he lay in bed, the anticipation grew unbearable. Tomorrow was a fresh shot, a chance to show Emily she wasn't alone in this fight. But when the morning sun broke through the clouds, a text from Emily startled him awake. His heart raced as he unlocked his phone. Jake, I was thinking, can we talk about the picnic in person? When you want to pick me up, we need to address some things. His stomach dropped. What was she really saying? And what were these things? An uneasy smile crept onto his face as he realized that her asking to talk in person meant she was willing to meet. But fear gnawed at him. What if the talk stopped everything in its tracks? He took a deep breath, determination igniting within him again. He had to focus on today. Would the picnic bring back the connection they desperately needed or break them apart further? Jake spent the morning pacing through his small kitchen, running his fingers over the memories scattered across the countertops. Every detail reminded him of Emily, the family cookbook turned coffee-stained, the cheerful fridge covered in drawings their kids had crafted. The textures of their life together felt like both comfort and pain, a tender wound that wouldn't heal. He checked the clock again. The time for their talk was creeping closer, and the mix of excitement and dread made him fidget. He poured himself a cup of coffee, its warmth grounding him. How could he face her? What if all their plans for the picnic crumbled under the weight of unspoken words? A shuffle at the door shook him from his thoughts. His heart raced as he opened it, and there she stood, Emily, framed in the sunlight, a familiar silhouette wrapped in uncertainty. He was instantly drawn back to the moments that held them together, when her laughter filled their home, when they conquered every challenge as a team. Hey, she said softly, her eyes scanning the room and landing on the pictures adorning the wall. Hi, he replied, his voice almost cracking. I'm glad you came. She stepped inside, the door closing behind her with a faint click that felt monumental. As they settled into the living room, Jake noticed the tension in her shoulders. He swallowed hard, trying to muster his courage, to settle the unease swirling between them. Jake, I wanted to talk about tomorrow, she began, her voice steady yet fragile. I know we both feel different now. I do too, he admitted. But I believe tomorrow could be a step towards healing. We've lost so much, and I want to find a way back. We can do this together like we used to. Her gaze met his, searching for sincerity. Jake could feel the intensity of the moment, a mix of fear and hope. What do you want us to be? She questioned, her voice laced with vulnerability. What do you really want? He took a breath, every word he spoke like a prayer. I want us to be a family again. I want to bring our kids to the park, laugh over lemonade at a picnic, and feel that spark again. I want to show you that I've changed. Emily's eyes shimmered with emotion. But what if it's not enough, Jake? What if we can't go back? What if we just fall apart again? The gravity of her words sank in deep, but Jake felt something shift inside him, a buried strength he didn't know he had. Then we figure it out. I want to let fear control us anymore. I'm here, ready to fight for this. For you, for us. I can't give up on all those good times and the love we built. It's still there. I know it is. He laid his heart bare. Vulnerability poured from him like a flood. The silence that followed was thick, heavy with the weight of their shared history and uncharted future. Finally, Emily spoke, her voice breaking the tension. Maybe we could try, but can we really trust that we won't fall into old patterns? We won't know unless we try, he insisted. It starts tomorrow at the picnic. We can take it slow. You can lead it. I'll follow your cues. If it becomes too much, we can stop. Her lips parted, a flicker of uncertainty playing across her face. Okay, then let us see where this goes. But Jake, what? She took a deep breath, drawing in courage. I just want honesty, no hiding. Can we really do that? Absolutely, he promised. No masks, no pretenses. As she nodded slowly, the tension eased slightly, albeit tenderly. But there was still a flicker of fear in her eyes, and he felt it echo in his own heart. Would the picnic bring them closer, or would it unknowingly serve as a precipice? The air crackled around them as Jake braced for what this journey might reveal. Tomorrow lay ahead, a canvas for possibilities. And as he gazed into her eyes, he felt a surge of determination. They had come too far to let their story end without trying one last time. But little did he know, hidden truths awaited him at the picnic, truths that could change everything. The next morning, the sun peeked through the curtains, streaming soft light into the room. Jake felt the warmth wrap around him like a reassuring blanket. This could be the day he once dreamed would bring them back together. He flipped pancakes while humming a tune, trying to suppress the knot of nerves in his stomach. The smell wafted through the house, a familiar scent of childhood filled with laughter. He wanted to give Emily and their kids a perfect day, to ignite the flickers of joy that once lit up their home. "Dad, are we going to the park?" His daughter, Lily, called from the living room. "Yeah, it's all ready. We're having a picnic," he answered, his heart brightening at her excitement. "Yay!" she squealed. Her enthusiasm washed over him like a gentle wave, easing some of the tension. Jake prepared the basket systematically, checking off each item from his mental list: sandwiches, fruit, juice boxes, a blanket. It was all about the details, he reminded himself. Each sandwich cut into perfect triangles spoke to the efforts he was making. As the clock ticked closer to the meeting time, he glanced at the text from Emily. She'd sent him a quick message this morning: "Can't wait to see you and the kids. Let's make today count." Her words ignited a flicker of hope, yet anxiety tightened its grip. What if today led to more heartache than healing? The door finally opened, and Emily walked in, this time radiant in a flowing sundress that danced around her knees, shedding the veil of uncertainty from last evening. "Ready?" she asked, her smile tentative but genuine. "Definitely." Jake felt a surge of determination as he responded. They piled into the car, the kids in the back, chatter filling the space with life. Jake stole glances at Emily, appreciating the way light reflected in her hair, how her laughter mingled with their children's giggles. It was effortless, the way they fell into a rhythm of family togetherness, but the unspoken tension still lingered, like a shadow creeping at the edges of their blissful day. As they arrived at the park, Jake noticed the colorfully decorated picnic tables and families dotting the grassy expanses. It felt like a scene from a dream, a world filled with laughter and joy, yet Jake felt his pulse quickening. "Let's set up over there." Emily pointed toward a shaded area beneath a giant oak tree. It felt inviting, almost like a sanctuary amidst the chaotic sounds of children playing and dogs barking. The kids raced to spread the blanket, their energy infectious. Emily and Jake worked side by side, preparing the feast, the tension tugging at them but also pulling them together. "Jake," Emily said, breaking the silence, "I really think we can do this if we stay honest." "I mean it." His heart raced. "Agreed," he replied, locking eyes with her. She looked so hopeful, so eager for a new beginning. Just then, the laughter of their children dulled into whispers. Jake turned his head to see Lily and Adam, his young son, hovering near the edge of the grass, pointing at something. The sight of them standing still in their animated world sent a shiver down his spine. "What is going on?" he asked, walking over, with Emily quickly following behind. Something was off. Jake's stomach clenched. "Kids? What are you looking at?" But Lily's expression changed, eyes wide and fearful. "There's a big dog, and it looks mad. It's barking at us." Instantly, Jake's protective instincts kicked in. "Hey, stay back," he called to them, his heart pounding. Emily stepped forward, her face drawn tight with concern, edging closer to the kids. "Jake, should we go?" she asked, her voice trembling at the thought of how unpredictable this moment could become. "Let me handle this," he said, but he felt uncertain. He had to face his fear, not just for himself but for his family. With a deep breath, he took a step toward the barking dog, his heart hammering in his chest. The moment felt electric, charged with potential and fear, as he prepared to show not just Emily, but himself, the strength he could summon when it mattered most. In that heartbeat, Jake realized it wasn't just a mad dog he faced. It was also their chance to redefine bravery, not only in defending his family, but also in confronting the hidden truths of their fractured history. What secrets would this day uncover? And would Jake find not just courage, but the resolve to lay bare their shared burdens, revealing the strength needed to move forward together? Jake steadied himself. As his feet moved forward, each step sounded like a drumbeat in his ears, steady but heavy. The barking grew louder, a jagged edge of sound that intensified his nerves. The dog, a large, uncertain figure, stood its ground, fur bristled and teeth bared, a mix of fear and aggression brewing in its eyes. "Stay behind me," he shouted, looking over his shoulder to see Emily kneeling beside Lily and Adam, tension etched across her face. Their children were watching, absorbing the tension swirling around them. This was a moment of truth, not just for the dog, but for his family. He could feel Emily's gaze piercing through him, urging him to act decisively. Jake took a deep breath and remembered the stories his father had told him about fear and courage. The difference being, courage didn't mean the absence of fear. It meant stepping through it, facing what scared you head on. "Hey there, buddy, it's okay," Jake called out soothingly to the dog. He crouched low, making himself smaller, reaching toward the ground to seem less threatening. "I'm not here to hurt you. Just let us take a moment." The dog paused, its barking slowing to an uncertain growl. Jake noticed the way it shuffled its paws, torn between instinct and need. Animals could sense fear, he knew, just like people. If he didn't show strength, this situation might spiral out of control. With pulse racing, he stretched an open palm toward the dog. "See? I just want to help. I can be your friend. Let us figure this out." His voice trembled a bit but remained steady. Slowly, the dog's growls began to dissipate, replaced by exaggerated breaths, unsure but curious. It took a tentative step forward, slackening its guard just a bit. Jake felt a flicker of hope igniting inside him. Perhaps this was just like their family, a fragile bond, needing the right touch to soothe the rough edges. Emily took a cautious step from behind him, her eyes glued to the dog. "Jake," she whispered, filled with both worry and awe. Was she seeing something in him now that she hadn't before? The tension was palpable, yet a magnetic connection seemed to hover between them, forming a bridge through their struggles. "Just trust me," he said without taking his eyes off the dog. He kept his voice calm, like he was talking to a scared child. "I get it. You're scared. I'm scared too." The dog wavered, cocking its head to the side. Jake's heart surged. Maybe they could turn this moment into something more than just a frightful encounter. Lily and Adam, still seated on the grass, clasped each other's hands tightly. It was heartwarming to see their innocent support, but the fear in their eyes reflected what Jake felt. Would they remember this day as one filled with bravery, or would it define something else entirely, an event marking the cracks in their family? The air grew thick with uncertainty until Jake felt something shift in the dog. It took a step closer, sniffing the air, and in that second, a part of Jake knew they had a chance. "See? We're allies. You and me." And then it happened. The dog lowered its posture, its growl fading into a whimper, surrendering to Jake's calm authority. "Good boy," Jake whispered, as he edged closer and gently extended his hand. The collective breath they all held released in unison, relief mingling with disbelief. But it was more than just the dog that was being tamed. It was their family's fear of the unknown, the worry of whether they could truly recover. Jake glanced back at Emily, her eyes wide, the surprise flickering into a warm smile. As the dog cautiously nuzzled against his palm, Jake felt empowered. He could be strong, not just for himself, but to rebuild the trust between Emily and him. This single moment had simmered with potential, offering proof that facing fear together was their first step toward healing after everything that had happened. The park had transformed around them, children's laughter began to fill the air again, and morning sunlight warmed their faces, an invitation to write a new chapter. Yet, lurking just beneath that newfound hope, Jake felt the weight of the unspoken truths, lingering like shadows over the sunshine. "Can we talk?" Emily asked, her voice soft but filled with urgency. Jake nodded, knowing they were about to dive into deeper waters. Questions lingered in the air like silent echoes, and he braced himself for the conversations they both had been avoiding. Would this be the moment they broke through? Or would something stop them just like before? Only time would reveal their fate. Jake took a deep breath, feeling both relieved and anxious. His gaze shifted from the dog, now relaxed and leaning against him, to Emily. Her expression was a mixture of hope and apprehension, as if she were about to step onto a tightrope strung across an intimidating abyss. "Let us find a place to sit," he suggested, gesturing toward a nearby bench under a sprawling oak tree. The branches danced gently in the breeze, their rustling leaves reflecting nature's calm, a stark contrast to the turmoil he felt inside. As they settled onto the bench, Lily and Adam ran around, their laughter bubbling up like soda fizz. Each peal tugged at Jake's heart. It was a reminder of what they were fighting for, their family's unity. Yet, that simple joy felt fragile, just like the moment he shared with the dog. "Jake," Emily began, her voice wavering slightly. "I've been thinking a lot about everything. About us." The way she said everything sent a wave of apprehension over him. His stomach twisted as he faced her, the weight of unspokenness hanging between them like a thick fog. "Yeah, me too," he replied, his throat dry. "I know we've been tiptoeing around it." There was a pause, filled with the distant laughter of children and the occasional bark from the dog, now a tentative friend. The air around them seemed to thicken with the unsaid words. "I got a text yesterday," Emily continued, looking down at her hands. "From a friend. She said she saw you at that place with someone." Jake's heartbeat quickened, pounding in his chest like a war drum. He could feel the air getting heavy, squeezing through his lungs. "Emily, I can explain," he urged, suddenly desperate for her to understand. "It was innocent, right?" She pressed, her eyes meeting his, searching for truth. He knew that if he didn't tread carefully, the ground beneath them might cave in. "Yes, but that doesn't change how it looks." "I was trying to figure things out," but he hesitated, recognizing the vulnerability of those last words. "I didn't handle it well, Em." Her expression softened slightly, but pain lingered in her eyes. "What does that even mean, Jake?" "I thought we were moving toward healing. But now it feels like we're just stuck." He ran a hand through his hair, feeling the weight of his choices crash over him. I know it's hard for you to trust me, but I want to be better. I want us to be better." "Do you?" she challenged, her voice edged with emotion. "Because I need to believe that you're here for us." Jake's heart sank. How could he convince her when he felt so lost himself? It didn't help that he had been grappling with both guilt and shame. But as he gazed into her eyes filled with uncertainty, clarity began to puncture through his anxiety. This was his moment to stand tall, not just for himself, but for their entire family. "I'm here," he said firmly, determination flooding his voice. "I will do whatever it takes to prove it to you. I don't want to run away from our problems anymore. I want to face them together." For a moment, they just stared at each other, their breaths mingling with the rustle of leaves overhead. Emily's expression shifted, the weight lightened just a touch. It was a softening in the lines of her brow and a flicker of hope igniting in her gaze. Together she whispered, as if she were tasting the word for the first time. "And I can show you that I've learned how to fight for our love," Jake replied, his voice steady. "Like with that dog. I faced my fears and it worked. I want to face ours now." Just then, Lily and Adam, still bubbling with joy, ran over, tugging on their parents' arms, oblivious to the solemn moment. Jake looked up, seeing their smiles, their innocence. It pulled at his heart, a lifeline that reminded him of his purpose. "Let us take it one step at a time," Emily finally said, hope edging into her voice. But the unspoken weight remained, questions still swirling like leaves caught in an autumn wind. Suddenly, a commotion at the park's edge caught Jake's attention. A man was shouting, pointing frantically toward the playground. Children were gathered around. "Something on the ground. What is happening?" Jake murmured, glancing at Emily, who was already rising to her feet. And as they both rushed to gather their kids, Jake felt another flicker of worry igniting a question lurking at the back of his mind, pushing him to confront another fear. What awaited them in the midst of that chaos? Could it threaten their fragile moment of connection? Jake's heart raced as he followed Emily, adrenaline flushing through him. The kids were ahead, eyes wide with wonder, and he could hear their giggles turn into whispers of concern. The sound of the man's frantic voice was a tension-filled hum in the air, wrapping around him tightly. "Stay close," Emily called out to Lily and Adam, urgency coloring her voice. The two kids instinctively grabbed hold of her hands. Their feet pounded against the dirt path, weaving through the other families who had gathered. Jake caught snippets of the man's voice. "It's an accident. Someone help." Panic laced through the words, each syllable sharpening his anxiety. He had a sinking feeling that they were about to witness something they couldn't unsee. As they arrived at the playground, the scene struck him like a punch to the gut. A little girl, no more than 5, lay on the ground, her arm twisted at an unnatural angle. Bystanders, some parents and others simply nearby, stood frozen in shock, their faces pale with horror. He felt the world around him fade into a muted haze as he locked eyes with the girl, who began to cry. "Is she okay?" Adam whispered, clutching Jake's leg with white-knuckled fingers. Before Jake could answer, a woman rushed to the child, kneeling beside her. "Sweetheart, can you tell me your name?" Her calmness cut through the chaos like a beam of light. But Jake couldn't focus on her voice. He was caught in the moment, wishing he could charge to the front and make it all better, yet rooted in place. Memories crashed over him, the times when he felt powerless, or worse, when he didn't act when he should have. A knot formed in his stomach as he glanced at Emily. Her face was one of anguish, mirroring his own deep-seated fear. What if we lose everything? The thought screamed in his head. The image of their own kids ran through it, brimming with innocence and energy, now tinged with concern. It was as if a light flicked on inside Jake. He had promised Emily he would fight for them. But it wasn't just about their marriage anymore. This moment was about being a father, about truly stepping into a world where things were unpredictable, where love had to fight against real pain and fear. Determined, he took a step forward, but stopped short as he noticed a little boy anxiously tugging at his mother's sleeve, his eyes wide in distress. "Mommy, I can't see," he cried, desperate. "Okay, I'm going to help," Jake declared, the words spilling from him, filled with a newfound urgency. He took a deep breath, steadying himself. Just as he was about to move closer, his eyes met Emily's again. In that fleeting moment, they shared understanding. A silent pact formed among them. "Let us go together," she said, squeezing his hand tightly. With a firm grip on each other, they approached the scene. As Jake knelt beside the girl, his heart hammered. "Hey there," he softly said, offering a reassuring smile that seemed to calm him just as much as her. "You're going to be okay." He glanced around, finding the nearest adult to coordinate help. It appeared chaotic, but beneath the initial panic, people began stepping in, forming a net of support for the little girl. As Jake held her gaze, something shifted within him. The fear that once paralyzed him was giving way to a resolve that felt strangely freeing. With each breath, he realized he wanted to extend not just comfort, but strength, to not just be there for the family in front of him, but to strengthen his own. When the sirens finally pierced the air, signaling help was on its way, the tension began to ease. Jake stood back, feeling Emily's hand intertwined with his, a grounding force amidst turmoil. But as he took a deep breath, the reality settled back over him. He had faced a moment that could have spiraled out of control, yet somehow, they had weathered it together. Still, the lingering question of what else lay ahead nagged at him. Will we be able to hold on to this connection, even in the face of chaos? It was a question that demanded more than words, leaving Jake grappling with the shadows threatening their family. Anew, would this experience strengthen their bond, or would it only deepen the cracks? The sirens wailed closer, and the heaviness of the moment sank deeper into Jake's chest. He caught a glimpse of the little girl's terrified face, her wide eyes reflecting pain and confusion. Each cry she emitted fractured his resolve, plunging him into a torrent of emotions. He felt completely unprepared for this kind of moment. It made him question whether he was enough to be a father, enough to be a husband, enough to hold it all together. Emily's grip on his hand tightened, as if sensing the churn of emotions he struggled to contain. "We're here for her," she whispered, her voice steady yet laced with the raw nerve of fear. "And for each other. Remember that." He nodded, allowing her words to settle within him. In a split second, their eyes exchanged a language of promises and gratitude. No perfection was needed here. It was all about their presence. They were not just parents. They were a team. The paramedics burst onto the scene, clad in bright uniforms, instantly filling the air with a sense of urgency and control. Jake watched as they knelt down beside the girl. They worked swiftly and efficiently, taking the burden from the trembling mother who had been kneeling beside her child. The frantic energy shifted, replaced by determined focus. "Okay, little one of the medics said gently to the girl. "You're going to feel a little pressure, but we're going to help you." It was a simple sentence, but it rang so true to Jake. Here was someone addressing not just the girl's condition, but her anxiety with words Jake wished he could find. As he knelt there, watching the scene unfold, a shimmer of hope flickered within him. This year had shattered their normal, but this was a shared moment of humanity, of caring. He glanced at Adam and Lily. They were still close by, their expressions curious, but softened now, reassured by the presence of professionals. "Mommy, is she going to be okay?" Lily asked, her voice small. Emily kneeled down to meet both kids' eyes, her own trembling yet strong. "Look how brave she is. She is help now. Sometimes things look scary, but we all come together to make things right." Jake admired how she reassured their children while grounding herself. He abruptly found himself thinking of a text he had received earlier from Emily, a simple message that had cut through the chaos of his workday, reminding him to be present. "I love you," it had said, a beacon in his busy world. It struck him how vital love was, especially in moments that rock you to your core. It wasn't just some words, it was a lifeline, an anchor in their storm. When the medics stabilized the little girl and whisked her away on a stretcher, accompanied by the frantic mother, Jake and Emily shared another glance that spoke volumes. "We really can come together, huh?" he murmured, almost to himself, but Emily's reply was swift. "Yes, and we have to keep doing this. For us. For them." As they began to walk back from the playground, hand in hand with their children, a haunting question echoed in Jake's mind. Perhaps this was the moment that could shift their narrative, that could put them on a path toward healing. But how would they handle the next storm? What other fears lay unearthed, waiting to be faced? Jake hadn't forgotten the cracks that threatened to deepen, nor could he ignore the truth that each new hurdle could potentially sever ties rather than strengthen them. As the sky darkened around them, uncertainty loomed like storm clouds, but so did the fierce warmth of togetherness. He could feel it in the air, a shift, a promise. But was it enough to hold them all together when the winds picked up again? With that thought swirling in his mind, a sudden vibration in his pocket pulled him from his contemplation. He glanced down to see a new message pop up on his screen. His breath caught as he read the sender's name, Emily. What could she possibly be telling him now? Would it be more reassurance, or would it unveil something different altogether? Jake's heart raced as he opened the message, each word unfolding like a revelation. "I've been thinking. We need to face everything, together starting now." For a moment, he couldn't breathe. There it was, the chance he had been waiting for, a bridge back to the honest connection they both craved. "Together," he whispered, the word tasting sweet on his tongue. He squeezed Emily's hand a little tighter, anchoring himself not only to her but to the hope that still flickered like an ember. Could this truly be the moment where they could start anew, write the next chapter of their family story? As they got back to the picnic area, Jake watched his children gallivanting, giggles echoing around them like music. A bunch of families buzzed with laughter and chatter, their lives unfolding beautifully in stark contrast to what he and Emily had been going through. But those very moments also reminded him that life's fragility was universal. They were not alone in their struggles. "Let us sit and talk," he said softly to Emily, his voice gauged with determination. She nodded, her eyes still mirroring the question that had lingered for too long. Could they truly reclaim what was lost? Settling on the blanket, he glanced at their children playing just a few feet away, their innocence radiating warmth. They were their world, the sun and moon of their existence. "I know I haven't always shown it," Jake began, his voice steady, "but I want to do right by you and the kids. I know I messed up and I'm ready to change. For real. But I need your help too." Emily looked at him, and in her gaze, he saw echoes of the past, the spark they once shared flickering to life again. "I want to believe you, Jake. But you have to understand, it's not just words. We need trust. I don't know how to mend those broken pieces yet." He took a deep breath, pouring his heart out. "I get it, and I don't blame you for being unsure. I was a fool for not seeing what truly mattered, for letting our love wane. But today, when we faced that dog, when we faced that little girl's fear, I realized how much I want to protect this. Us. I'm here, ready to serve what us right." Tears shimmered in Emily's eyes. "You really mean that?" "Absolutely," he affirmed, holding her gaze and letting sincerity hang in the air like a thick fog. "I want you to feel my commitment, not just hear it. So let us make this picnic count. Let us not just be parents today. Let us be partners again." She sighed, visibly processing, her thoughts swirling like leaves in a brisk breeze. Then she articulated something profound, making his heart soar. "Let us forgive the past. Together. One moment at a time." The fear that had gripped him released just a little, as if hope had seeped through the cracks. For every moment of laughter shared with their children, Jake held as truth that this day could be a turning point. They dove into easy conversations and laughter, relishing the simple joy of food, love, and life. Apologies didn't need to be heavy. They could shimmer like the late afternoon sun, bringing warmth, brightness, and renewal. But as Jake sipped on his lemonade, he looked across the blanket to see Emily laughing with Lily, completely engrossed in a silly game. It struck him how transcendent this day had become, how they had pushed past the hard conversations to embrace the love they had almost lost. Each moment felt electric, the energy of shared joy crackling between them. Before he could think twice, he reached out, taking Emily's hand. "Thank you for today. For not giving up on this," he said earnestly. The sincerity of his voice broke through the noise around them, capturing her attention. She looked at him, her expression softening like the setting sun. "Thank you for fighting for us, Jake. This is what I want this moment, time, love. I want to make our family whole again." As the day unfolded, they felt lighter, as if the shadows of the past had lifted slightly. Laughter flowed freely, memories were made, and hopes were woven back into the fabric of their lives. But there was something deeper brewing, a recognition that they were once more intertwined in a story of resilience and growth. When dusk began to settle, painting the sky with hues of purple and orange, Jake leaned into the moment. The picnic had transformed from uncertainty to a tapestry of promise. They were stepping into the unknown together, hand in hand. Yet, just as they finished cleaning up, a final buzz from Jake's phone caught his eye. It was another message from Emily. With a growing smile, he unlocked it. "How about we make today a new tradition? Family day every week. Just us." Jake's heart swelled, each beat resonating with optimism. "Yes, let us do that," he replied with vibrant enthusiasm. Together they said in unison, echoing their commitment. He gazed at the horizon, hope draping over him like the twilight's gentle embrace. Tomorrow held promise, their family was healing, and he had faced storms within and outside. From this day forward, they would navigate whatever challenges came their way as a family, not just as individuals. As they packed up the last remnants of their picnic, Jake felt the strength of his love for Emily and their children fill him up. They were not just rebuilding, they were reinventing, rekindling a bond forged through pain, laughter, and shared purpose. Now more than ever, he felt ready to embrace any future together. So, here's the moment you've all been waiting for. If you found inspiration in Jake and Emily's journey of healing, you need to subscribe now. Don't let another transformative story slip past your grasp. Hit that like button right now to feed the algorithm and help others discover the magic waiting for them. Comment below with your thoughts on this emotional ending. Your reactions matter. And share this video with at least 5 friends who need this reminder that love conquers all. This is the moment to show your support, and we can't wait to bring you more incredible stories. Don't wait not even one more second to share.